You?
I'd like to call the meeting to order for October 12th, 2021. Would you please rise for a moment of silence? Thank you. Would you please join in the pledge of allegiance? Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Paula is absent, so I'll do the roll call. Trustee Sheets.
Here.
Trustee Hunter here. Trustee Good.
Here.
Okay. We do not have any minutes to approve. I'll make a motion to pay our expenditures. Do I have a second? Okay. Roll call, Trustee Sheets. Trustee Hunter, yes. Trustee Good.
Yes.
Okay, and do we have any visitors on?
We do not.
No. Is Hannah on?
She is not. Nobody's on currently.
Right, well, while we're on visitors, you're really not a visitor, Jim, but would you like to say anything, or are you part of Robert's report?
He's here to help me out with this, what I've got here tonight.
I have two things I could bring up if you don't mind.
Go right ahead.
Since I'm down here. Just to let everybody know that October, it's a week from Thursday, so October 21st, from 4 to 8 at the Franklin County Fairgrounds, we're going to be hosting a touch a truck event. It's free to the public, free parking. Hopefully get a lot of kids out there. We're partnering with some other people, but we'll have a little touch truck event down there. Probably hand out some candy, and it's not just a touch a truck, it's actually you ride a truck. Well, it's set up like 6 or dump trucks run like a little loop, not on the track, of course, but back around like the horse barns and come back around. So if it wants to ride one of our dump trucks, they can do that.
What are the hours on that?
4 to 8. 4 to 8. So 4 to 8. If we get a little dark by the time we get done with it, we kind of expect kids to come in their Halloween costumes. We do find out that the parents actually jump over the dump truck first, like to ride it when we've done it in the past. So. And then November 18th, you guys should have got your invitation for our day. So, okay. That's just two things I want to mention since we love to be here. Thanks.
Okay. We'll move on to the sheriff's report.
I didn't bring any stats with me, but I did come because I know you guys have had kind of musical chairs with the deputies. Just want to let you guys know that in 2 weeks, you will have a permanent deputy here, and you will always have somebody at your meetings from now on. There won't be zooming in or calling if they can be, if they're allowed to be here, you'll have somebody here from now on.
At each meeting or just once a month?
How often do we have one like this?
Second and fourth.
So there'll be someone here at both meetings.
Good.
And that should start today. I'm filling in for him because he actually has 4 meetings tonight. Really can't be at all 4 of them. So we'll get fully staffed here real soon. And I think we're moving past all the challenges of the last 18 months as far as which ones to go to and what they're allowed to do. So I think moving forward, you guys should have a deputy here every single meeting.
Are you familiar with the noise resolution?
I have, there have been talks about it. I just read it. I did notice that, and I was talking to someone earlier. Every township on the west side of Franklin County has a lot of the same issues, and there are people, discharging their firearms on their property. And most of the townships seem to be using the same legal department, so they have the same similar noise ordinance. And it looks like it's almost purposely left out of the noise ordinance. There aren't gunshots mentioned in it as far as I can see. There's horns, vehicles, loud music.
But
And
aren't those examples?
well,
Would be a noise that,
that would be a question I would have.
yeah, I'm just posing the question to you too.
As far as the Ohio Revised Code, a resident can discharge a firearm on their property in an unincorporated area. when you start getting to these noise ordinances, now obviously I'm not challenging anyone's noise ordinance.
Sure.
But this one in particular is written fairly vague. And my question would be, how does the township kind of interpret that? Do they want deputies to come out when people fire firearms on their own property? Or,
Well, I would say if they're shooting all day long,
and see,
that is,
but that's not written in the ordinance. The ordinance says a noise that you can hear from 100 feet away. Most firearms you can hear from 100 feet away. So have we made an ordinance against discharging firearms, or I guess we're looking for clarity
okay.
because
Doesn't it say something in the ordinance about noise that affects the lives of the other people around them?
it does. And that,
And
again,
that's where I
fairly
would
vague
think,
because,
and I think it was left vague for that reason, to cover maybe everything. And I'm not saying that's how you should do it.
Right.
I'm just trying to all get on the same page. But someone shooting from morning till night, especially in the dark, after dark, I would think they should be told, stop it. Knock it off.
can you see where that puts the deputy in a weird position? Because you've made those stipulations verbally, but it's not in the ordinance. So when he arrives on the scene from a call, he looks at this ordinance and says, you know, I think the deputies are confused what the township wants, because here in Ohio, a resident can shoot their rifle all day long on their property. If there's a noise ordinance, then that changes things, but we kind of have to know what the township wants. Is for, you want the sheriff to come out every time someone shoots a pistol on their property and citing them? I think the thing is the patrol guys are a little bit confused of what the township actually wants.
Well, what about this example? On Sunday, someone in Timberlake was having a party, a fundraiser at 2 p.m. Most of the neighbors were at their house. One neighbor called in a complaint, and the deputy told him to shut down the party. It was 2 p.m.
Again,
How would you interpret that?
was it a noise that affected someone's quality of life from over 100 feet away? I
It
don't
would have been
know.
a band, but Sunday afternoon, I could see if it was 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, but in the middle of the afternoon.
And I think that's a consequence of writing a noise ordinance so vague. A lot of places will have the same verbiage, but after a certain time in the evening. And I understand the noise from a band is different than gunshots, but to the person that's shooting their firearms on their property, it's not that much different. I guess it's a very difficult ordinance to enforce with citations because it is so vague. You're leaving it up to the individual deputy, and most deputies are not wanting to take that responsibility, that interpretation without any guidance at all. Our legal department has not really advised any of these deputies on it. As far as the township's ordinance, they're trained on Ohio revised codes. And obviously townships can create their own ordinances, but without giving the deputy guidance on how they interpret that within one and making them so vague, people aren't getting satisfactory service.
So, do you have an example of another township that has a better
I
noise? And to my knowledge, I think townships cannot make ordinances. That's just villages. Yeah, ours has to be a resolution,
okay. So
noise resolution. Just,
I want to say Prairie Township has one, and it says after 9 o'clock. I could be wrong.
It's the same one.
It's the exact same one. That's what okay. Yeah, and I don't know if there's a solution. And it's something that we've struggled with. I've been on 20 years. Every rural township or part of the county has neighbors that don't like the neighbors that shoot guns. And nobody's figured out a way to,
well,
Should
like
we maybe
some,
sit down with the new, or whoever's gonna be the new deputy out here and maybe try to come up with some like, we obviously don't want to limit people where they can't enjoy their own properties,
Right.
but we want their neighbors to be able to enjoy theirs, maybe see what some
I would give his
Something
input,
good.
but I don't think he's gonna be a good person.
Well, I know, that's what I mean, though, the input. I mean, what's reasonable, what's not, you know, I think 2 o'clock in the morning.
I think maybe sit down with the
It's
sheriff.
unreasonable, but
And the sheriff, I can't speak for him, even though I'm representing him, but he may interpret this as in the Ohio Revised Code, a person can discharge their firearms on their property. It's going to be very difficult to get him to want to make a resolution or any type of citation that doesn't let someone do that.
What about the party? Let's not even talk about the noise resolution. If you were called on that party at 2 o'clock on Sunday and they just have a band going.
I live in a
What would
neighborhood.
you do?
I live in a neighborhood, and if my neighbors had a band at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday, I think that's kind of normal.
Me
I would be okay with that. I don't know who it was that you're talking about that told him to shut it down, and I'd like to talk to him about it, see why. And I don't.
Right, there may be
I would have
other
a different opinion there.
circumstances we don't know,
Right.
but
we kind of feel like things are being unfairly enforced. So we're shutting down a party in a neighborhood at 2 PM, but we're letting other people act like wild banshees all day and all night.
And I
So-
it's frustrating, and some of that
Yeah.
frustrating might come from such a vague.
And I can understand that, and that we talked about that earlier, different shifts, different people, different interpretations.
And there's not, the issue we have is these guys are trained on the state laws. And different townships will have, obviously different resolutions, and they're not always trained on exactly what Pleasant Township wants. And then when you compound that with, sometimes a guy works in Clinton Township,
Right.
now he's in Pleasant tonight.
And I understand that there's always going to be that, that's unavoidable.
I don't think somebody should have shut a party down 2 in the afternoon on Sunday. I-
Yeah, well, I guess we're just trying to find a happy medium here
Right.
where it's not one extreme or the other.
Well,
we have a guy on Dawn Drive in Darbyville that has hellacious parties and carrying on late into the night, and the neighbors called. I went over one night because they called me. It was after 11 o'clock, and the neighbors had told me the deputies end up and seem like they're friends with this guy. And honestly, that's what I witnessed.
Well, when
And I
you get cases
said-
like that, let your liaison know or let me know tonight, and I will relay all that information to the patrol chief, who will probably, and the sheriff will probably get copied on it. And that's how we can kind of, like the communication we're having now, that can really help situations like that. If there's somebody who is absolutely breaking the noise resolution without a doubt, and nothing's being done about it, then we need to know that, and I need to let the people who are in charge of those guys know that also.
Even if we didn't have a noise resolution, if they're carrying on wildly at 2 in the morning, would you tell them to knock it off?
You would think so, but that's a fine line when you wear this badge and you don't have the authority to tell someone to do that. That's when you get called out for it, and then you have extra problems. It's obviously things are changing in this world.
Yes,
We don't have the same authority and the same
yes, I think I'm.
kind of influence as we used to. Telling someone who knows they don't have to turn the music down, to turn the music down, we'll probably just have them turning it up. And it's something we run into, but definitely what you're saying, that information will absolutely get relayed back to the patrol division. And those guys that do work third shift out here they'll hear about what you're saying, that we're not satisfied with what's going on out here as far as those calls.
Can you set up a meeting or pass it on to your chief to set up a meeting with us,
Inviting to one of the meetings.
one of our meetings, and
I would say
Anybody in
probably
the township?
the patrol chief would probably be a better chief, because what you're talking about is a patrol service.
Mhm.
And what I do is I relay that information. So, yeah, I would, it's Chief Jim Gilbert. If you guys need his, contact information, you have it. Okay, I would, and I can definitely email him as well, but I would request him, to sit down with someone. And like I said, I don't want to speak for Chief Gilbert either, because I don't work for him. But he's a super busy guy. It might take some time to get him out here.
Right.
But I think he's going to tell you a lot of the same things I'm telling you, is that noise resolution is difficult to enforce because of the way it's written. And we all know attorneys write them a certain way for that reason. And it almost looks like it's written for selective enforcement. So you can enforce it here, but maybe not. It leaves the decision up to that deputy that night, maybe too much.
Maybe this day and age, when it was written, I don't know, because a lot of that is right out of the Ohio Revised Code. There's a section of it that was, I read it today, the Ohio Revised Code part.
I do know that there are not very many noise tickets written. Like it's a very rare thing. I know but I do know that what you're saying has been talked about in the patrol division, because just recently, the training coordinator for patrol has sent out copies of the resolutions to everybody on patrol.
Okay.
So as of today, everybody has a copy of it, and everybody has been informed which townships have those. So there should be, at least in a kind of a micro sense, there's been some progress made as far as the noise complaints.
And in 2010, when it went into effect here, if I'm recalling correctly, it was mainly because of barking dogs.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It was.
That
Wish we had that where I live.
that was the main reason, was
And
barking dogs.
those are super
It
frustrating.
wasn't
Everybody as
gunfire
well.
parties or anything
Didn't
else.
we do a new one for just barking dogs? Like I brought,
Yes, I think you did.
yeah, there was a barking dog has its own resolution.
Like that. So yeah, I will definitely get that information out to the people who are out here, especially the ones that are out here at night. And I will relay the concerns of how maybe we can get better at using that noise resolution. I don't want to say enforcing it, but maybe we can get clarity. Maybe I can get the patrol training coordinator to figure out a way to get clarification on exactly what the residents want out of it.
And if we could sit down and have a committee or something and maybe come up with something new
Sure.
that it would work better for everybody. And
I think we just need everybody to be treated the same.
And that's so difficult to do right now in these days.
Right, and
The problems we face, and I'll tell you, it goes from Norwich to Washington to Brown to Prairie, is it's almost the same story. A neighbor comes in and they say, my neighbors are shooting their guns all day. It's not normally all day because most people can't afford to shoot all day. And
I can tell you places in Pleasant Township that it is all day.
then
I wonder the same thing, where they get
it's
that money.
expensive. But our first question is normally, have you spoke to your neighbor? No. So, I've said a lot of times calling the sheriff's office, a lot of times that's not the best idea to start this conflict resolution. Because that makes a lot of folks, it's off-putting.
Now, I don't know what you're reading about the gunshots, the most recent, but that was a neighbor shooting most of the day, and they also did property damage. They shot his barn. They have.
I'm actually the neighbor here, so if you'd like some clarification whenever I have a chance to talk to you, that would be great.
Are you the neighbor?
I'm 5030 Harrisburg, Georgesville. I'm here because I listened to the last meeting. We were out of town and I found out through friends and others about what was said about us, and we definitely didn't shoot all day. But I would like, whenever you're done speaking to him.
Were you
I'm Shanna Browning, and
were
this is
you
my husband,
aware
Michael Browning.
of the property damage?
I'm aware of his allegation of property damage.
Okay, we go ahead.
So
You can tell your story now.
I'm gonna write real quick. Let me write down your info for the minutes. What was your name? I'm sorry.
Shanna, SHANNA, Browning, and this is my husband, Michael. He goes by Mike.
Okay.
So, and first and foremost,
Again,
I'm sorry,
your address again.
5030
5030.
Harrisburg, Georgesville Road. We were out of town during the last meeting and we came home to hearing some of our friends and neighbors say, wow, we heard about you guys on there. And I was pretty disheartened to hear that my character was basically, I know that that's when you're speaking, Ms. Hunter, about the shooting all day, that's what you were told by Mr. Hayes, because I watched the video. The shooting did not happen all day. It happened about 5:30 in the evening. And if you would like, I would like to show you, because Mr. Hayes said that our mound was this high and we had Detective Lovett. My husband is 5'9". We're building an addition for my grandfather who has dementia that lives with us. And this is where the dirt came from. We didn't move here to exercise our Second Amendment. This was on the 17th, the first night we shot. the day that was supposedly that we shot someone's building and we were shooting all day. This is our mound. These are 3 foot and we had targets that we were shooting. No AR-15. We don't own an AR-15. We're CCW members or holders for years. We just renewed. This is 3 foot tall T-posts and that is our markers.
Now,
So in this dirt pile, I'm sorry,
how close is the dirt pile to the property line?
to the property line, where I know that in your video or whatever, you were talking about 300 feet or something. We're about 100 and some feet. He's 11 acres back. His barn, my son pulled it up on thing. He's over 11 acres back, his barn. So, and in the meeting minutes, which were very vague and kind of disheartening when I read the actual PDF copy, saying that we were out shooting in his cornfield is what your minutes state.
The minutes haven't been done yet.
Yeah.
From last, I pulled up.
No.
That's just the notes from
Okay,
the
the notes.
official meeting.
Okay,
minutes that haven't been done.
okay, so that was in the notes.
That's
When I
what it
read,
said.
that, I was like, we weren't his cornfield and I would like to see how he went through and saw it.
He did say that the corn had been riddled and he could see it had been shot.
That's
That's what
11
it said.
acres of corn. And also there was no bullets recovered. And the officer came out that night, Officer Lovett. He came out, and looked at our pile. And I also understand that we have it on our Ring video camera because we have all that. When Mr. Hayes was at our house and talking and told my husband how he wasn't a real man, he said a statement to me about a war zone. And I said, well, that's funny. That sounds just like Mrs. Wilhelm, what she said. And he immediately, and I have it on video on our camera on our property. I haven't spoke to Mrs. Wilhelm, but in your meeting, he states, Mrs. Wilhelm said the pile was 4 foot tall, which again is incorrect. And I felt like we were judged on that and that we got 10 foot tall on Monday. They didn't.
Just for clarification, I don't know what the dimensions are. It's supposed to be so many feet from property line. Are you with?
And actually, he told us there's no ordinance that says there has to even be a backdrop in the ORC for shooting. So we're actually above and beyond. And this was Monday when Mr. Hayes said that Mrs. Wilhelm called him and said that we were adding to the pile. We were, because we're keeping the dirt from the $155,000 addition on our home.
Can I see those, please?
Yes, you may certainly. That was the first night me and my husband, we both went out and shot. The first night, obviously I said he's 5'10". This was Sunday, the targets we were aiming at. And this shows Monday, which again, we weren't shooting into the evening because my husband works 60 some hours a week. He gets up at 2 a.m. My grandfather's 83 with dementia. We go to bed about 8:30 at night. So I don't know who was shooting. Mr. Hayes stated on camera that we were trying to call him out. We've lived here for 3 years and we've never tried to call anyone out. And I actually felt kind of person, the reason I'm here, I know you can't do anything about this, but I wanted our character known because after watching the video, first impressions are everything. And I felt like you didn't know who we were. And you were talking to Deputy Hamilton through the Zoom call, basically condemning us, saying we were just wild banshees shooting all day long. And we weren't. We were out there for 2 hours. And in the minute recollection, it states that the neighbor in her 80s came over and spoke to us. Actually, what she did was we were all standing out here. She came over and confronted my grandfather, who I've also told her and her husband and all our neighbors in case they see him that he has dementia and he has hearing aids. So he was confused.
So she didn't talk to you or your husband?
No, she did not. She came to my grandfather, and that's also on Ring camera video. So again, what someone says, you can take it verbatim if you don't have the second side of the story. But we do have Ring cameras because when we first moved in here, we were broken into. So we have cameras all over our property. So he came out and said, Shanna, he goes, the lady next door, she's mad. She can't water her flowers. I said, what, Papa? And so I went next door to Mrs. Wilhelm, knocked on the door. I walked in, we're always very cordial. And I spoke to her and I said, what's going on? She said, well, it's so loud. I can't stand the noise. I take my walk in the evening and this and that. And she said, I wanted to stop. What are you going to do? And I said, well, we're allowed to legally shoot on our property. And I said, this is only the second day we've even done it. And I said, I offered to purchase her a set of headphones because we have headphones. She asked how we could even be out there listening. We all have our earmuffs, everything. I said, I'll purchase you a pair. I said, we're not going to shoot all day long, every day. He works during the week. It was
So
the
that
weekend.
day in particular,
Mhm.
you didn't start
No, ma'am. And
any shooting till like 5:30, and
I,
then you stopped.
it was right before 7. She came over right before 7 to our house. I'd have to pull up the Ring camera to see when she walked over. We had been at a concert the evening before. We don't get out much. That has no relevance, but I have to sit with my grandfather. So we took all of our children to a concert the night before, the first one in 3 years. And the next day we spent with him watching football because that's what he enjoys. I actually, for once, got to take a nap about 3 something and I got up about 5. And him and our sons were out there. Actually, my son could probably pull up his receipt. He went to Vance's and bought the targets that they had. So I want you to know that when someone comes in here and states something to you, even if you've been friends for years, because I understand Mr. Hayes is friends with a lot of people around here, that it's not always so cut and dry. And I mean, luckily, my kids always laugh at me and say, I
I
take
can
pictures.
guarantee you, I never consider anything cut and dry for
Okay.
anybody.
Well, I hope not.
Always different.
Yeah, and that's why my kids always laugh and say,
And
Mom,
I'm
you
sure
take
these
so many.
two feel the same way.
Yeah, they say you
There's
take
two
so many
sides.
pictures, so many two pictures. And I'm like, well, look, it actually did me good because it wasn't this tall or 4 foot. You know what? I guess coming here tonight, I just wanted it because it was on record and I felt kind of like, that's my character. You know, my grandmother raised me and she passed. And so we took my grandfather in and that just, I felt like it was on me and my family and we're not wild banshees or.
I
know
know
about that. I get it. I know, but I know what in relevance.
I
to-
actually,
You know, in relevance to it and Mr. Hayes stating that we moved out here to exercise our Second Amendment. We've exercised our Second Amendment since we were old enough to do so, and I'm only 42. We didn't move out here for that. Actually, we moved out here after we stayed with his grandparents for 2 years to help take care of his grandmother with Alzheimer's. So we came out to enjoy the country, to not have to deal into neighborhoods and parties and all that kind of stuff. And I just felt like we were personally attacked. And
Were
when
you aware of the property damage that?
he came to our house, but what was really comical about that is after Mrs. Wilhelm talked to me and we discussed it and I said, she basically told me she had to talk to other neighbors and wanted them to stop and she's lived there since 72. And I informed her, that's great, you've lived here since 72, I wasn't even born. I said, we're not shooting every day. It is our right to shoot on our property. Then it was about an hour and a half later, almost 2 hours. We were sitting watching the Kansas City Chiefs play Sunday Night Football. And we saw Mr. Hayes pull in with 2 officers directly behind him and we got accused of shooting. There was others that shot. We haven't shot one time since then, but we've heard everyone else. And I'll tell you, I'll be honest, I was a jerk about it. I walked outside and yelled, it's not us. Because, you know, I felt like we're being ridiculed. We're right across from the hunting range there. So that's where we're at, the hunting zone right there. We're right there. It's not always us. There's other people shooting. When we first moved in, we asked if we were allowed to shoot on our property. So when Mr. Hayes said that, well, the officer walked out back with us. He checked our mound that evening. And no, he didn't ask Mr. Hayes to walk back there with him. We came back out and talked to him and he told my husband, well, Romean would take responsibility. And my husband said, you don't, excuse me? I mean, he's going to judge his character and he doesn't even know. The officers explained to him, it could have came from anywhere around there. And he looked at our stuff. I mean, we did not, I will lay my life down. We did not shoot his barn or his combine. And him stating that he hadn't talked to Mrs. Wilhelm and then turned around a couple days later, a week later, coming here and telling you guys how he talked to her on the phone. They're riding buddies. I know from other neighbors around there, they've been best friends for a long time. And so I think what it was trying to do was to strong arm us. He was going to come over and say, this is what happened. And, you know, and if he wants to take us to small claims court or you can get in with the prosecutor or however we want, I'm going to take all my proof and my videos as well. So I'm all for your noise ordinance. We aren't shooting 20, we can't afford to shoot 24 hours a day or from daylight to dawn. And I even explained to Mrs. Wilhelm that we won't be shooting all the time, but it's our right.
I think that's one of the biggest issues.
It's our right.
Well, we're rural.
Yeah.
People move out here to shoot guns.
When we go,
Others
you
move out here for no noise.
Yeah, that
That's
kind of
one of the
irritated me
biggest-
too, that it was said that we moved out here for a Second Amendment, because that was taken out of context between me and Mrs. Wilhelm. I said, I believe in the Second Amendment. And I said, our plans, always, because she asked me if our dirt pile was staying, and I said, our plans have always been at some point to put one there. We were gonna dig a pond, however.
No, I
Like
don't know
happened to
about
my
you, I mean,
grandmother.
in general.
Yeah,
people
in
move out to
general.
The country.
Yeah, no, his family has 40 acres and he likes, and we go there and shoot. But now with my grandfather, we can't always take an hour and go down and do that. So, and they had a party on Sunday, Mrs. Wilhelm and them. And did you think we went out and shot? No, we're respectful neighbors. They did come to talk to us. But I just want you to know, you know, that's our character. I just felt attacked after I watched the video.
We appreciate you coming.
Yes.
Okay, I do. And that's what I said. We moved out here. We've enjoyed it. You know, we like being out here, but I just wanted you to know that side of the story. I know you can't judge me or anything, but I wanted you to know no one's shooting all day long from our.
Thank you for coming.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you for hearing me out. I feel better. I just, like I said, I don't want to be judged continuously.
Well, we appreciate you coming and telling your side,
Well, thank you.
and that's your job. I don't know what deputy went out there, but
Deputy loved it.
evidently he
Basically, with, in that
did what
situation,
he was supposed to
the
do.
deputy's gonna do a report and take the information from the alleged victim, and from there, it's kind of out of his hands.
Mhm.
Then that go to the detective bureau and
It'll go-
warrants an investigation.
And they'll determine whether it warrants, or how much investigation it warrants. And that's a difficult, I'm not gonna, it's frustrating for the deputy because he knows he's going out there to take a report that most likely there is not gonna be any action taken from it. Because it's a very difficult thing for anyone to say with certainty that this person fired a round this distance and it struck his property. Now, obviously, we don't want to discourage people from calling the sheriff's office to have a report done, absolutely. Because there's more than one reason to have that done if you want, your insurance and all that good stuff. But it's overall a very frustrating thing for everybody involved. And like you said, 50% of people move out here to ride four-wheelers and shoot guns, and 50% move out of here to get away from it all and be super quiet. And we have to find a way to coexist. And it's not always the best idea to call the guy at the black and yellow car to put the fear of God in someone, because that doesn't work anymore. We just have to find a resolution and find a way to, like she said, if she's shooting for 2 hours, just in my opinion, if a neighbor comes over and says, hey, on these days, I play canasta with my girlfriends and from 3 to 5, most people will say, yeah, I wouldn't want people shoot. We'll change our hours. That's a lot of times that you get a lot better reaction
Right.
from that than
Absolutely.
calling Deputy Lovett.
And Officer Lovett actually even told Mr. Hayes, he said, I told you before we came over here, I wasn't able to go and take anyone away right now. I mean, we have that on video. That's what he had wanted done. So.
You wanted somebody arrested?
Basically, the Officer Lovett, his partner, he said, I told you, we can't come over here and just start, crucifying people, taking them away, and saying that they did it when they can't tell where it came from. And he said, we have AR-15s and we don't own an AR-15. We have 9mm handguns that are all registered.
That's and that's something honestly that the sheriff's office as a whole can get better at. We have a lot of people that call us with unrealistic expectations, and we could probably get a lot better at conveying what we are able to do and what we're legally allowed to do. Because it's frustrating for those patrol guys too, when they show up and the guy says, I want them arrested. Well, sometimes they're short and they say, I can't do that. I'm not even allowed to do that. And so we could probably do a better job of, connecting with the people here and conveying what we can do and what sometimes we're not allowed to do. Like in this case, guy calls and says, I have property damage. I think it's from this person over here. We can't walk over there, throw handcuffs on them and throw them in jail. And some people think we can do that. The old Hollywood movie, Arrest That Man. Can't always do that. Can't normally do that either. It's like you said earlier, we need to find a way
Right.
to get along and find a better way to resolve conflicts like this. The last few months have been tough for everyone.
Yeah, we've got to find a way to, I think that's the perfect way to put it, to coexist. So we've got
And it's the
people that
western
can
side of the county is a perfect storm
however
for
they want.
I love four-wheelers and guns, and I love quiet. And
Right.
I'm not a gun guy, but I understand it. I'm a guy, so I know if it's your
Once it is,
thing.
this day and age is why you want to perfect your shot, just
That's
because
true.
you don't know what's going on. And that's a truth right there. And it's scary. But I do appreciate you guys giving us the time. I had to have someone sit with my grandfather for us to even come over, so I have to go for that. But we'll look forward to hearing about what goes on with the noise ordinance and things. And you can rest assured that 5030 Harrisburg, Georgeville doesn't shoot 24 hours a day. We don't shoot into the evenings. And if anything further, somebody can send me a note or drop by.
You can, you are welcome to come voice your opinion at any meeting.
This is the first one
Any-
we've ever been to, because we lived in the city of Columbus and Grove City prior, so.
Anything you want to bring up, and you can call any of us.
I did see your guys' numbers, but I thought, well, I'm just gonna come in because I got the pictures printed and I just.
Actually, I think that was the best thing.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to do. And because, like I said, we came home from Kansas City and was told that we were discussed on thing. I'm like, do what?
Feel free to call anytime, for in between meetings and if you've got something, call, shoot a text.
Okay,
All our cell phone numbers are on there, so.
okay. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. You guys have-
You're welcome. Thank you. Do you have anything else?
No, I think that's all the time I want to take from you guys. But I will convey that information to the people who need it, and they will hear about some of the differing opinions of what's going on as far as enforcement of that noise.
Maybe even, the thing to do, maybe, like at one of our Franklin County Township meetings.
Mhm.
Have somebody from your office,
It's a good idea.
whether it's,
The difficulty with that way of thinking is, do we want the law enforcement suggesting the laws, or do we want the local government doing that? Because I can tell you from a law enforcement perspective, I don't want noise ordinances or restrictions on firearms. I wanted the least, we already have an Ohio revised code. Just in my law enforcement opinion, I don't think we need any more laws. So, and I also understand different townships have different needs and issues. So I think that might be best for, just in my opinion, I think it might be best for you guys to let us know what your expectations are.
If we had specified time,
That's a
would
difference.
that be, I don't want to say what kind of noise, the kind of noise you make is okay, but the kind of noise your neighbor makes is not.
Right, and I think it
I
changing
think
the
that
game.
put very well. Time, like if it's 11 o'clock at night,
That's a big difference than 2 in the afternoon.
It
I
is.
agree.
Right.
I think if someone's shooting from 2 PM to 5 PM on a summer afternoon,
so be it.
if I'm the neighbor, I wouldn't like it, but,
But I would feel that they're
that
within their
wouldn't
right.
bother
yeah,
me.
but it would be a lot different than 10 o'clock or 11. That may be crazy.
Right.
Right.
And, people can also, my understanding is if they are having a party that would go past a specified time, can come in and ask for an exemption for that
Sure.
date.
And
I know my neighbors have something annually and they can tell everybody.
if there's a time specification on it, I think it's easier for the sheriff's office to see the picture as far as enforcement. And it's also, it gives the residents a different expectation. Like, I can do this, but I know I have to pack it in by 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whatever it is.
Right.
It takes that vagueness out of it. And like the people who shoot, they know they can shoot. They know when they can. It kind of takes the opinion, because we all have different opinions, just like the guy who wanted to set a party down at 2 in the afternoon. It's probably not any of our opinions, but just suggestions. Just to make it easier for everyone, but
Well, we appreciate you coming
no
tonight.
problem.
And,
I know I blabber
Yes.
on a lot, so I'm.
well, it's been a very good discussion that needs to take place, and we need to have more of them to come to some kind of
These are
happy medium.
strange times.
Yes, and something that you guys can follow, or
Yeah, I
like,
agree.
like Randy said, the consistency, because I know I've been very involved with Dawn Drive and Darbydale. All the neighbors call me. I had a call today. That kid, I've been over there. I've talked to this kid.
Is this the one on 665 that is in the burnout
Yeah.
house, sir?
Yes.
Yes. I'll say it, and I'll say it to anybody, that place is nothing but trouble,
Right.
and there's trouble. That's all that's gonna come from it.
I think the issue is choosing the right vehicle to take care of that issue. Because I know that's been talked about at the sheriff's office, and when you call law enforcement, the first thing we try to do is we try to determine if a crime is being committed. So if I'm camping out in my own backyard, whether my house is burnt down or not, am I committing a crime? Or if I have access, or I'm allowed to be on that land, am I ever going to be committing a crime? So when the deputy comes out, the deputy says, well, there's not a law being broken here. So what do I do? Doesn't have power to do anything as far as civilly, liens or tax abatements or things like that. That's not quite going to be the patrol deputy's kind of issue there. His hands are tied, and it's frustrating for the neighbors. So I think the idea is to find a vehicle or find the tool to combat that. And it's not always going to be the patrol deputy at 2 a.m.
Are you with community relations?
Not really. I mean, it's kind of weird. We have community relations and we have a community liaison division. We're like cousins.
Okay, we've had at least 2 deputies here that have advised us when people call us to tell them to call sheriff's department.
What do you mean?
Like, for instance, Dawn Drive. Every one of those neighbors would call me 2 or 3 times a night. A lot of times,
The deputies are telling them to call the trustees.
Oh,
I
yeah,
didn't know if you understood that or not.
well, and then,
so they're going out for
And then
a call
water-
and saying,
the
hey, this is not our issue, call your trustees.
yes, and the liaisons are telling us, when we get the calls from the neighbors, tell them to call the sheriff's department to get reports done, so they have a record.
Okay, so we're
So-
spinning around in circles.
Left and right hand.
Right, and I can see the biggest issue we face as a sheriff's office right now is communication. We have so much technology and so much, and we're still trying to work on everybody knowing what everybody else is doing. What you're saying is probably not, that's not a good thing. I think the patrol deputies are saying, I'm a law enforcement officer, there's no criminal act being committed here, you're calling me and I can't do anything. So let's find a different, avenue to enforce this, because as far as criminal law, that I can't do anything. And it's outside my area of expertise to suggest what is the tool to use.
So when that kid on Dawn Drive is at midnight, sitting there revving up his car that's up on blocks
Is it
continually,
is it audible from 100 feet?
yes.
So so you have a noise resolution you can do, but as far as a criminal, is there anything a law enforcement officer can do to a person revving their engine on their own property? As much of a blight as that property might be, is he breaking the law?
Well, with the noise resolution, then what happens?
Isn't there a disturbing the peace anymore? Is that gone?
So there's not a higher
That's
code of law.
called a disorderly conduct or something.
No, I mean,
About cease and desist.
as far as a deputy ordering someone to say what this is, he doesn't have the power to make him stop doing that because he's not breaking the law. There's not a disturbing the peace law. Disorderly conduct does not fall under somebody revving their engine. He would have to be doing something else. The noise resolution is great, but as far as I know, it's more of a civil action, right? It's more of a township action. So the deputy and the sheriff's office, once they write that citation, they don't have anything else to do with it. And I understand it's frustrating. But it's frustrating for us too, because we're a lot of times being asked to do things we don't have any authority to do.
So from our noise resolution, you can write a citation.
As far as I know, that's what that resolution is
Yes,
for.
we
And then it would go
find
through,
something to give you the authority.
yeah. Then it would go through whatever process that is. I've never written one, so I'm not super familiar with how that process goes, but I imagine it's something that goes to the township, right? Or does it go through the municipal, what county?
I
court?
thought
We
it
have to go
went
through the board. We don't have.
Okay. And so it would go through the municipal, and I don't know anyone who's ever written one, the sheriff's office. I honestly don't know if anyone's, so.
I don't think we want to get where we're writing citations every time. Hopefully just a quick, hey, knock it off and do it.
Yeah,
Or, if you continue to do this, obviously, I think it was the first time we go up to somewhere, a simple warning, hey,
And that should be enough.
right.
I mean, so, I'll definitely convey those concerns with the patrol guys that are being called at night and to let them know. That's as much as I can do. I mean, I can't come out at night and grab on guys for revving up their engines. I'm not home. I'm home asleep.
I was home asleep too when they called me, and I got up and I went over there.
Oh, yeah.
I told the kid to knock it off. Now, I wouldn't have gotten out of the car, but a deputy came and I didn't call him, somebody else did. Then I felt brave enough to get out of the car and I told him to knock it off. Because the deputy started asking what kind of motor was in it.
Right. Yeah. And so now everyone has their own way of dealing with people, and sometimes building that rapport and being friendly is a lot better than, and everybody has their own style, so.
Right, and if you don't know like this guy,
Mhm.
I've been over there a couple other times. That's the only thing that guy understands.
I wish I had a better solution for you. I know.
I wish you did too,
It's-
but I really appreciate you coming
It's, but
tonight.
it goes both ways. We don't want to give guys like me too much power. You know, we don't want us to have a lot more authority because most of us don't want guys like me around.
Well, we want you around, so we appreciate you coming and having a good discussion with us. Thank you very much. Do you have anything else for us?
I don't, I'm done blabbing.
All right. Okay, we're gonna move on to the road department.
We had a tree fall down on the Harrisburg Pike and it damaged one of our guardrails. Contacted the county's guardrail inspector. He came out, like, asked for a little bit of advice on what to do. After checking everything out, majority of the posts are rotten. And I asked if their company that they use would be able to replace just the post and reuse the guardrail, but it is an outdated type 4. Yes, type 4 guardrail that needs to be updated to the type 5. He went ahead and wrote up an estimate for, I believe it's MP Dory to do. That is $5,712.50.
And Pete Dory,
And
DORY.
I'd like to see if the trustees would like to pursue this, and continue with this, because right now it is a safety.
I did look, wow, I looked at the guardrail, I looked at the posts are all about. Hold the guardrail to the post or hanging in the breeze. I feel it's taken care of.
There is more that needs to be done, but I'm gonna try to find some grant money if possible to keep updating that guardrail through their time.
So the estimate is from MP Dory.
Actually,
Not from the
this is from the
engineer.
county, this is from the county engineers.
Who would we be paying? Dory or the,
Probably the county engineers.
okay.
I will make resolution 63 to accept the estimate from Franklin County Engineers Office to repair the guardrail on Old Harrisburg Pike, not to exceed $5,712.50. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, trustee Sheets.
Yes.
Trustee Hunter, yes. Trustee Good.
Yes.
And secondly, I also have another estimate from the county for them to dig across Thornville Court that we can finish that project.
Is that the deep ditch?
Yeah, we'd be over 7 feet deep and we don't have the shore boxes to do it ourselves. That came in at 9,823.65. I believe we're gonna try to help out as much as we can to lower that cost.
Is this number not right?
And I got the wrong
For us
one.
to help. Thanks, so.
Did I miss a page on the estimate? I had 3,000.
Yeah, you're on a different page. There's 2 pages.
Can you read that number to me again? There it is.
9,823.65.
Thank you.
I'll make resolution 64 to accept the estimate from Franklin County Engineers for the repairs in Thornhill Farms, not to exceed $9,823.65. A second.
A second.
Roll call, trustee Sheet,
Yes.
trustee Hunter, yes, trustee Good.
Yes.
Then we had our fall cleanup, went off pretty well. We were down one guy during it. We got by. It was lighter than normal, but that's a kind of a good thing because kind of our two main expenses from last time, which was the electronics and tires, we were way down on. So get that finished, but still have to haul the television in. Yeah. Maybe 10 compared to 1.5 last year. And other than that, we just had one burial.
Anything else for Robert? Do you have anything, Jim, while we're on the road department? Anything else?
We're doing this is shoring. So.
Anything you can do to help us out would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
We'll move on to chief's report.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. For September, we ended with 120 runs, up through September 30th. We've had 913 runs for the year. We've already run 55 calls for October. That number's obviously increased since I finished this morning and sent it to you. The tanker's scheduled to go to All American on November 1st. Ed, thank you for taking care of that. That was helpful. It'll be gone. What you said now, a couple weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, but I thought it was just a couple weeks. So, in its place, we'll be using the engine, the backup engine as a tanker because it's 1,250 gallons of water. So, we'll probably add an extra truck to structure fire assignments and things like that, just to give us a little bit of extra water when we need it. So, the new water softener, RO system, and iron filters installed and working. Again, I'd like to thank the board for their willingness to get that taken care of. I think there was a little bit of confusion from the company that had the previous system here, but I think at the end of the day, the system needed updated and taken care of. So I do appreciate the board's willingness to get that done and make sure our drinking water and water is safe. We started hose testing. That'll continue for a few weeks as weather permits. And we've held the demos for the last 3 sets of extrication tools. There's still one car left out here that needs hauled away. So I actually have more on that here in a few minutes. So they did fire prevention at Darby-Dale Elementary yesterday, and we have a training fire in Scioto on Thursday that we'll be attending. The on-duty crews will be rotating in and out. The tanker will be down there all day. So that's in where they're putting all the new warehouses in right by my neighborhood. So we'll be down there most of the day doing that. So I do have a couple requests from the board this evening. The first would be a resolution to accept the resignation of part-time firefighter Chase Chapman.
I'll make resolution 65 to accept the resignation of part-time firefighter Chase Chapman. Do I have a second?
Second that.
Roll call, trustee Sheets,
Yes.
trustee Hunter, yes, trustee Good.
Yes.
The second request I have is to accept the resolution to accept the resignation of part-time firefighter Travis Schultz. I just make the board aware, and I think you guys are well aware of it. Travis has been a member of Pleasant Township Fire Department as a part-timer for over 27 years. So one of our long tenured part-timers is leaving the ranks.
Too much time at the leap.
I think, life is changing for Travis, and I think that's a big part of it. So he's started to enter that retirement mode a little bit, and just kind of he hasn't really worked in over a year. He kind of drifted away when COVID hit. And yeah, I think he just realized that he enjoys his time off a little bit more than he thought he would. So him and I have talked a couple of times. You know, I see him in the neighborhood. He lives in the same neighborhood I do. And we've talked via phone a couple of times. And he's very reluctant to do it. It was kind of the same thing with when Scott Boyer resigned. It was one of those things he didn't want to do. But I think he's just enjoying his time off, and I think he'd rather do that than come here and work part-time. So
Well, I will make resolution 66 to accept the resignation of part-time fireman Travis Schultz. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, trustee Sheets.
Yes.
Trustee Hunter, yes. Trustee Good.
Yes.
and the last request I have is related to the extrication tools. I would ask the trustees for a resolution to authorize the fire chief to place an advertisement to accept public bids for the purchase of extrication equipment as described in the specifications to fulfill the requirements of the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Award number EMW 2020-FG 19036.
I'll make resolution 67 to that effect.
I figured you would.
Was that?
It was like the total grant amount was like 65,000. I don't have a number in front of me, but
That's fine.
I believe 61,000 will be covered by the federal fund portion, and we'll be responsible for like 5%. So standard. So basically, we're gonna get all new extrication tools for about $3,500, give or take.
Okay, thank you.
Have a second on that?
I'll second.
Roll call, trustee Sheets. Trustee Hunter, yes. Trustee Good.
Yes.
Unless you guys have anything for me, that's all I have to say.
All right.
Thank you.
Is anybody have any real business? New business. Set the date for trick or treat night. And Halloween is Sunday, October 31st.
What Morpsey C and everybody else is doing.
Saturday, the 30th.
They're doing the Thursday, the 28th.
Harrisburg's doing the 30th.
Oh,
Saturday,
really?
the 30th.
Morpsey doesn't ever recommend the weekends. Friday nights or weekends.
And Derek.
For treaters.
Yeah, so get anybody in my house.
Out of one.
This
Well-
Timberlake,
We're doing what we call trunk or treat on the 30th. And it's gonna be, 5:30 in the afternoon, and what we do is we ask the residents that want to pass out candy to come along and park along Sandpiper Drive and pass out candy from the trunk of their cars. We did the same thing last year because of the COVID issue. We kind of thought this year might be a good idea also. And we're also gonna do probably a chili cook-off afterwards, and then maybe a
Do people participate in the overall trick or treat night also, or is that the one?
officially for our neighborhood, no, we,
Okay.
instead of a traditional trick or treat, we want to do the trunk or treat. Minimize door-to-door contact, do it all outside and down one street, and we're done and through.
Okay.
Have we heard anything about Darbydale, chief? You know,
I don't think they have an organization that would do anything different than the township. There's
I
none.
think if Harrisburg's doing it the 30th.
Yeah, Harrisburg is doing,
Doing it the 30th,
yeah,
we ought to just make it the 30th for the, that's my opinion.
I'll go, I agree with that. Okay with that? doing it
What
Saturday?
time?
What time are you?
5 or 5:30, I think we're going to kick off with the trunk or treat. And be other activities throughout the evening. Like I said, that I think a chili cook-off, bonfire.
Deputy Holt, don't they normally do that 6 to 8 or?
It's usually before it gets dark.
I was thinking 5:30 to 7:30
Yeah,
or
I'm
6
good
to
with
8,
that.
one of the two.
Yeah, if you
I
just-
think you want the kids off the street, so
It is,
we're-
but Usually everybody's kind of done by dusk. They get them off the street. And
Do you know what
5:30 to
Harrisburg is
7:30.
doing theirs?
7:30.
I'm looking it up right now. I want to say I thought it was 6 to 8.
Yeah.
Well, if we say 5:30, we ought to have it covered.
Yeah, Timberlake traditionally did 6 to 8 when we, on our designated trick or treat. But then we're kind of a secluded community. We don't have through roads, so, can get away with them running around after dark.
Sure.
So 5:30 to
7:30.
7:30.
Harrisburg's is 6:30 to 8:30.
It's pretty late.
Yeah.
Well, I think they do some community stuff downtown, and I think they're, like the gentleman from Finger Lake says, they're kind of, a lot of their stuff, they get off on the side streets back in where the old school was. It's pretty secluded and not a lot of traffic, so. I know they've invited us to be a part of that. We'll obviously, attend it in Timberlake and get out into the neighborhoods as much as we can with whatever duty crew we have, so.
Well, it'll be easier for you guys if everybody's one night, won't it?
Yeah.
Hit everybody up.
Yeah, we try to hit all the, Georgesville and Darby-Dale, Harrisburg, the trailer parks, your neighborhood.
So it's Saturday, the 30th, 5:30 to 7:30.
That'll work well.
And I forgot again, when we do not have a fiscal officer, don't we make you, do we have to make a resolution?
Yeah, and there's nothing that needs signed tonight, so I don't.
is.
Oh, is there? Okay, fiscal officer pro tem.
So
68 then?
I'll make a motion. Is it just a motion or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Fine with this.
I'm gonna make a motion to make trustee Good our fiscal officer pro tem. For tonight's meeting.
Second that.
Roll call, trustee Sheets.
Yes.
Trustee Hunter, yes. Trustee Good.
Yes.
That sounded reluctant.
I'm running out of room here. I'm writing around the paper, up and down.
Okay. The next thing we have is, did you get the reminder email from Melanie that the Franklin County Township Association is responsible for appointing a representative to serve on the Solid Waste Authority for Central Ohio, Waco Board of Trustees? Jim Ronk, the trustee at Jackson, has graciously served as the Franklin County Township Association representative, but will not be seeking another term. For consideration, attached was the resume for candidate Ron Grossman, the fiscal officer for Jackson Township, who is seeking the appointment for this vacancy. And as explained by the vice chair, Nancy White, at the September 9th virtual meeting, Waco requires 2/3 of the townships to vote. Although Ron Grossman is the only candidate voting, is still required. A sample resolution is editable in Word format and is attached for the trustees to designate a representative. And I have a blank one, and I have one with Ron's name in it. Did everybody get a chance to look at his resume? Then I will make resolution 68 to approve the nomination of Township official Ronald Grossman, Jackson Township, to serve as a member of the Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio Board of Trustees, represent Franklin County Townships for a 2-year term. This resolution shall take effect, be in force from and after the date of enactment. Second. Roll call, trustee Sheets.
Yes.
Trustee Hunter, yes. Trustee Good.
Yes.
So. Should have just
Work it out.
put cheers. Okay. They may have any announcements? Or updates? Do you have any more you'd like to say?
Yes, I do. I have 4 issues I'm gonna.
You
throw
go
out.
right ahead. You can come up here and then you can be on the camera.
Yeah.
Oh, he's on the camera. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
I'm gonna blow through the first 3, I hope, hopefully real quick. Recall 3 months ago, I came and asked you about repainting the street signs in our neighborhood. And you said you would be agreeable to supply the paint for us to do that. I do have some volunteers.
I've got branding road signs.
Okay, that was the second part of this question. If you got brand new road signs,
Right the other day.
and a fantastic reflector, you gotta pull the old wooden ones out.
Yeah.
Fantastic, that answers that. Number 2, and this is also kind of towards Robert. Teresa Kelly at 5390 Timberlake Circle has come to the board a couple times saying that her front yard floods during very heavy rains. And she's concerned that the drainage tile in her front yard going over to Sandpiper Lake is clogged. And I was wondering if, Robert, would you be able to go over and take a look at that 5390 Timberlake Circle? And see if you think that culvert's plugged up, if there's anything we can do about it. I walked by one day and my personal feeling is I think the drainage grade is just a little bit above the bottom of her landscaping. But she denies that, so.
Check it out tomorrow.
Okay. Third item, our secretary asked, would it be possible if we could get internet access when we have our meetings here?
Yes.
Okay. I'll get with you after the meeting and we'll set up the.
We have a public Wi-Fi. You're more than welcome to.
Great, fantastic. I'll get the details from you after. And when I came in tonight, trustee Sheets asked me how things were in Timberlake and I said, not so good. Earlier this summer, we had a couple of nights where it looked like 2 people were walking through the neighborhood and just walking up to any cars parked out in the driveways and seeing the door was open. If it was, they rummaged through the car looking for whatever they thought might be valuable. And that kind of dissipated, but then 2 weeks ago on Wednesday night, it started again. And several people had their cars rummaged through. And then last Thursday night, same thing happened again, only this time somebody reported that somebody busted the window out of their car and rummaged through the car. I don't know if you're aware of any of these issues or
Were there reports made with the sheriff's department?
I'm not sure about the one with the busted window. You know, I did get a phone call Sunday evening from one of our neighbors and their outdoor shed was broken into and they did call in the sheriff. And they sustained about $4,000 loss and stolen from that shed. And so that's going to go over to the detective bureau. And she's also told me one of the other people not too far away had their shed broken into. I don't know if they called the sheriff or what was taken, but they said whatever item they took, it took 2 people to get it out of the shed and into the truck. So we're kind of a little concerned about this kind of racial crime.
Okay. Okay, help you out a little bit.
Yeah.
A lot of times that is something super common at the beginning of summertime because these leaves come out when
Yeah.
it gets warmer. The issue we sometimes have as far as trying to enforce this and trying to get ahead of it is so many people will have their cars broken into
Mhm.
and they don't want to file a report with the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
That's the majority of it. The minority want to call the sheriff's office, but they don't want to report. They say things like, we just want to let you know.
Yeah.
So I would encourage everybody in your neighborhood, when they get their cars broken into, even if a penny was taken, have a report filed, because what happens when a report is generated, we have a crime analyst in our office.
Mhm.
And let's say the example you're giving me, if 4 or 5 people have, car break-in reports in the same night, the same neighborhood, that triggers different notifications to
Yeah.
this crime analyst, and it helps us get ahead of this as soon as it starts. If they don't file a report with the sheriff's office, most of the people at the sheriff's office will never know about it.
Yeah.
That's just forgot what else I was gonna tell you. There was something else. Are they, when you're saying there's people walking around, are they calling the sheriff's office when they see these suspicious people?
No, used all the reports I've seen on the Jim Blake Facebook page.
Yeah, and that's
when they
so
talk to
popular
me
now.
is, their, security camera goes off and they see figures out there walking.
And they're
away from
posting
them.
about it online.
Yeah.
Call the sheriff's office. There's a guy in a car, he's pretty close around here. He could probably stop those guys and see what they're doing. We're getting a huge trend of people going to their phones and reporting it on social media,
Yeah.
never calling the sheriff's office. And, you know, I don't know if you have a neighborhood watch, that's also another
We have
option. If you
neighborhood
wanted-
watch signs up, but we don't have any active
If you
program.
wanted to help getting an active program, the
Yes.
community liaison here could definitely help you with that. If you want to give me your information when this is over, I'll put it in my phone and I'll get it to him. He can help you guys. And we don't run your neighborhood watch.
Mhm.
We help you get it started and
Okay.
we give you all the information to start doing it. That's great, but the most important thing is call the sheriff's office. There's cars that are assigned out here.
Yeah.
Just for them. And we get it's frustrating to you guys and us when these things happen and sometimes we make it more difficult on ourselves to enforce it and it's hard to catch those guys.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I'll be super honest. But if it gets to a point where it's really bad, we do have other tools. Like my unit, for instance, Glendon Township a couple of years ago had 28 break-ins in one night.
Yeah.
So we took a couple plane cars and we worked all night. Now, we didn't catch anybody.
Yeah.
But the residents really appreciated it, and we could have, we almost caught them, but yes, it's tough, it's really tough. But yeah, call the sheriff's office, if it gets to where there's multiple, then maybe have other techniques to try to combat that, but we have to know about it. And it's frustrating for us when we hear these things, like Prairie Township was the king of 7 a.m. calls. Their cars get broken into at night, so they call the early morning day shift guy and they say, I don't want to report, I just want to let you know.
Mhm.
Okay, so you let one guy know, but there's 800 of us.
Yeah.
So if you do it, if they generate a report, it takes them 5-10 minutes to do it. Then it gets in that system and if certain things get triggered, the algorithm and all that good computer stuff,
Mhm.
then we all know that there's a problem somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I just recall from people posting on our social media page, they had a picture of a guy walking away from a car that he tried to get into, and he walked out to a car
And
parked
that's-
down the street,
yeah,
And
That's
of
every
course-
neighborhood in
Yeah, of
Ohio.
course, you can't see the face and you don't have a license plate. One of
But
my suggestions I'm going to put out there is put a security camera up there, or somebody comes up there, you get a picture of their face,
Yeah.
and like you said, make the report.
If you call fairly quickly, there's a good chance that deputy's around the corner or,
Mhm.
I'm saying it's hard to catch it, but we can catch them.
Yeah. Mhm. And I was just wondering if it'd be possible for the next couple of weeks, maybe an increased drive through the neighborhood by your deputy assigned out here,
Which neighborhood is that?
Timberlake.
Okay. Any particular reason besides for the car?
Just for that, maybe an increased presence of the deputy cruising the neighborhood might kind of
I'm
steer them
not
a little
texting.
bit.
I'm putting this in. I didn't bring a pen, so I put it in my phone. I don't want to look like
Modern technology.
This is
Like
a
being a kid.
it's a lot better for me. Yeah.
I'm still old school. Then I put it in.
See, I'll lose that. Something will happen. I won't lose this. They'll charge me for it. Yeah, and then just give me your information after this. I don't want to take up any more of their time, but
Okay.
and I'll have Deputy Hamilton get a hold of you and you guys can sort that out.
Okay, yeah, I kind of thought maybe we had an organized neighborhood watch.
They work.
To the
They
point
absolutely
that we
work,
don't
yeah.
have somebody shooting somebody. If you recall that movie, The Neighborhood Watch. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Is there anything else? Then I will move to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call, trustee Sheets.
Yes.
Trustee Hunter, yes. Trustee Good. Yes. Adjourned at 8:15.